Hi, and welcome to the Soul in the City channel. This week I'm talking about how to forgive someone or a situation, or it could even be yourself that you feel like you need to forgive. The thing we need to know about forgiving is it's never condemning anybody else's behavior. It's not saying what they did is okay. It goes to a much deeper scale than that, and it's about seeing that from a soul level and understanding why this particular challenge came into your life. And the thing is, I'm never telling my clients to forgive. Forgiveness is generally a byproduct of when they understand or they have a complete understanding about why that happened for them. To give you an example, and I've spoken about this a number of times, I dated a narcissist in my early 20s. It was a very volatile relationship, and I spent 12 years blaming this person for their bad behavior in the relationship. Obviously, I never forgave them for what they did. It was sometimes very violent. Some very horrible words were spoken. And when I sat down and I put together a forgiveness process, and when I sat down and looked at all the things that happened in the relationship, um, I then decided to look at what was perhaps why that happened. And what I started to unravel was, and this wasn't easy, it wasn't comfortable, it was very, very uncomfortable actually. I started to see things like I didn't have enough self esteem, I didn't have enough self love, I didn't have enough self respect to walk away after the first red flag. I didn't know myself well enough. I needed external validation. And a lot of the times, when empaths date narcissists, their friends will say things like, "Oh, you're such a nice person, and he's such a horrible person, and you don't deserve that," and yada, 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 which is all on one level, very true. But whatever is going on in your unconscious is going to be mirrored out one to one. And so these people and situations happen to allow us to observe. And when we observe, we start to recognize what limiting beliefs have been held within our subconscious. Okay, so when I took the next step and decided that I was responsible, and like I said, it took me 12 years why I was responsible for that particular situation. I didn't have to stay in a relationship with this guy. I didn't have to stand there while he said terrible things to me. I didn't have to continue to date him. I did. So is it his fault or is it my fault? It's obviously my fault. Um, when I recognized that, I can honestly say I felt myself, I felt my power come right back. When I took responsibility 100% wholeheartedly for that situation, for that relationship, I started taking my power back. And I will say this again, it was very uncomfortable, the first step. And the more that I could feel my power coming back, the more that I was ready to acknowledge my shadows, and the more I was ready to go into it. And the more that I went into it, the more I got my power back. So forgiving for me is like decluttering. And I do this every month. And I had another situation. Oh, sorry, I want to go back to this. So after I did the forgiveness process, so I recognized what I needed to change, I recognized what that person showed me about myself. I saw how I grew, how I evolved as a soul, what I learned. My self love is on game now. Before it was just non-existent. Um, this guy called me after 12 years. We hadn't spoken to each other. So that goes to show how powerful this process is. And he actually rang me to say sorry. And so we ended up speaking for a couple of weeks. And it was really interesting because I could see there was still those narcissistic traits, but I had expanded and come to a place where I wasn't feeding of that, or I wasn't needing that, or it was really crystal clear his characteristics. Um, so, I mean, this person is like a soul trainer for me, and I have such this unconditional love for them putting me through my paces. Obviously, not at the time, obviously, not after. I literally fled the country to get away from this person. But now I can see that on a greater perspective. So, sorry, I just have to blow my nose. Excuse me. Just had one of those corona tests, and oh, it's better. So this is the forgiveness process, and again, this happened to me. I had another situation, a relationship again, funny enough, and I was with somebody, and I felt like I had grown spiritually, mentally, to a place where I was ready for a mutually respecting and loving relationship. I don't want to go too off track in here, but when you want to be in a when you want to manifest something, sometimes you get the opposite to begin with. So I was trying to manifest a mutually loving, unconditional relationship. So anyway, I dated this person. It was actually a good friend of mine. And after we slept together once, he dumped me. This sent me in a spin. And I was so confused about this, and obviously it triggered a lot of emotions around self-worth, self-esteem, confusion, am I not good enough? Like all this crap just came up. It took me, even though I'd been doing this work, even though I know the process, it took me 8 months before I recognized that I was actually being conditional in the relationship. And so I had spent 8 months trying to forgive this person. I couldn't speak to them, I couldn't look at them. I was still so angry. And the anger told me, you still haven't learned what you were supposed to learn. And I had to keep going in month after month, the full moon after full moon, because for me, um, not forgiving someone is like holding on to rubbish or having a house full of rubbish, and it's not serving anybody. And so, yeah, obviously things came up about self worth, self love, vulnerability. Um, and I got to it and I was like, what else is there to forgive this person for? Or what is it that, why is it I just feel so angry towards them? And then I started reading about manifesting, and I read about, yeah, if you want to manifest money, normally you get a whole heap of bills. If you want to manifest a conditional relationship, you get an unconditional relationship, yeah, vice versa. When I saw that, the bells went off. I was being so conditional in this relationship, but obviously I'd grown to a point where I thought that I wasn't doing that, but obviously I still was. And when I saw this, and when I realized that this person showed me that I was being conditional, then I was able to forgive them. So I did this full moon process with Danielle Page. She's amazing. And they're like, whoever pops into your head is the person you need to forgive. And so obviously it was this person. And so I did the forgiveness process. I felt like I'd seen and learned all my lessons. And then 4 hours later, I went into the coffee shop where we always met each other and saw each other. And he'd left me a box of macaroons with sorry written on them. We hadn't spoken in 8 months. Anytime I was in there, he was in there, I would ignore him. I had deleted his number. He wasn't on my Instagram, nothing, like totally blocked. So there was no contact. There was nothing to even indicate that I was doing this full moon process. So it was just, again, showed me twice how powerful it is when you take the time to do the full moon forgiveness. I know people have had situations. I've had clients where they're just like, I could never forgive that person. I mean, if it gets to extremes where somebody has like killed somebody or just done something where you just think it's so unfathomable to forgive them, this is where you have to go deep, and look at it from a soul perspective, because as a soul, we're here to learn and grow and evolve. And if we want to learn forgiveness, we sign up for level 10 forgiveness. That means something unforgivable has to happen, that you have to go in and to realize what you really are. I hope that helps. I do have a full moon forgiveness process. It's a booklet. It's what I developed for myself, and I still use it. So if you want a copy, you can just send me an email. I'm so happy to send that out, because let's transmute all that deep, dark crap and wounds into some beautiful magic light. Yeah, and full moon's always a beautiful time to do a full moon forgiveness process, to sit down. And like I said, it's not like when you have the steps, and even when you know about full moon forgiveness and forgiving, it's always a time to get really real with yourself, which is not comfortable. This is the shadow work, but know that the lotus goes through the mud before it blooms. Know that, and I say this to my clients quite often, that, if you're baking a cake and you have the flour and the egg and the sugar and the baking powder all on its own, and you taste every one of it, it's disgusting. It's gross. You wouldn't eat it. But all those ingredients together, I mean, the sugar tastes amazing, let's be honest. When you mix all those ingredients in together and you put them in the cake, in the oven, you have this beautiful, soft, fluffy cake. I mean, have you eaten grandma's cakes? They're amazing. But she had to put all these crappy single ingredients together to get that cake. And you are a beautiful, fluffy cake. So utilize all these situations and challenges that you've had in your life to be your best cake, I guess. But I just hope that clears it up, because I know people are like, I'm never going to forgive that person. I know people think that when they forgive somebody, they think that means condemning what they did. That means letting them off the hook. It is not that at all. It's freeing yourself from that, freeing yourself from the past in so many ways. So have a beautiful, beautiful day. Be a beautiful soul in the city or in the country or on the beach, wherever you are. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, and if there's any particular videos you'd like me to talk about, or any particular topics, just email me at hello@rebeccawilson.de. Okay, happy ascension.